Hi and welcome to this session. In this video, we're going to be looking at the instant VM recovery to Azure from a Veeam Vault repository. As you can see here, it's the same lab I'm using in the other videos. I have 3 virtual machines protected, a local copy. I also have a copy out in an Azure Blob repository. And as you can see below, I also have a copy out in a Veeam Vault repository, and that's what we're going to be using today. We're going to be right-clicking on the particular virtual machine. We're offered all the different types of recovery available to us from that particular backup. But what we're going to be doing today, as I said, we're going to be using instant recovery to Microsoft Azure. As we open the wizard, we are able to select the particular virtual machine. There is only one here to select. It's now going to query the available locations. It's now offering me the subscription that I wish to use and also the ability to select the location. I'm going to be selecting East US. It's then going to be querying the available VM size and storage accounts. Once that's done, we then have the ability to make some changes. Given the name of the restored virtual machine, it's something we're going to change here. We also have the ability to amend any tag information. But if we go into the name, this is where we can add a specific name or just add a prefix or a suffix. We're going to be adding a suffix of -restored. Then we're able to look at the disk configurations. I don't need premium SSDs, so I'm going to be editing those to standard HDDs for both of the disks in this particular VM. I could also make some additional changes, but we're going to leave these as is for now. It's now going to be looking at the available resource groups. We're now given the ability to set the resource group, and I already have an existing resource group, so we're going to make those changes here. And click Next. It's going to verify that configuration. Now I'm going to verify the helper appliance and the restored VM configurations to make sure everything is valid. It's now querying the available virtual networks, available security groups, and this is where we're going to be able to enter the amended network information. I'm going to select my preferred virtual network. I'm going to be selecting my preferred subnet, which is the default 2 in this instance, and I'm going to be selecting my preferred security group. I'm not going to assign a public IP, not required in this scenario. I'm going to hit Next. And this is the helper appliance configuration. So I'm going to select a different subnet, which is default in this scenario. And the storage account is an existing storage account that I've created. Again, this is for the helper appliance. This is now the opportunity to populate a reason for restore that will appear in the log. And as you can see, we're just performing a test restore from a Veeam Vault. A summary of everything we've configured here. I do have an option for enable boot verification, but not going to take that. This is where we now see the log of activity of what's going on. It's starting the recovery of the chosen virtual machine. It's using the helper. You can see there's now an instant recovery in progress at the top left there. We're starting to create the helper appliance that we configured. We're now deploying that helper appliance. creating the virtual network, creating the virtual network for the appliance, and we're now creating the VM OS disk. Whilst that's happening, let's go take a look at what's happening in the background. So you can see here we have in the same as we have in the lab. We have on the left hand side we have our local VMware environment, and on the right hand side we have our Azure representation. We have a backup of the same local 3 virtual machines in the local repository, and we also have a copy over in the Veeam Vault repository. So the first thing we're going to do here is Veeam Backup Replication is going to address those backups in the Veeam Vault repository. And it's going to be able to mount those VBKs and of course VIBs as well, and mount them to and make them addressable and mount them to the helper virtual machine, giving that particular virtual machine the ability to transit the IO from the mounted backups, and that will become clear why we're doing that. What we then do is we create and register an Azure virtual machine. And because we have mounted those VBKs and VIBs to the helper appliance here, we can make those drives available to that particular virtual machine that we've created and registered. We can now boot this particular virtual machine, and it's essentially as long as the virtual machine takes to boot is as long as it can, as soon as it is available. So the IO is handled and channeled via the helper back to the repository, and we're caching those changes. Once essentially that virtual machine is stable, we have a number of different things to do. In fact, we have 2 options really. When we're back in the lab, we'll be unpublishing that state because we're only doing this as a test. But if you've done this in production, what we would actually do is we would write any of the cached change data plus the contents of the data into the virtual disks on the Azure virtual machine, the VHDs, and then we would remove the helper, remove the cache, spin down any of the VBKs that we've mounted, and we would leave the virtual machine running in production. Okay, so let's now go back to the log. Now we're back in the log. You can see that we're back to creating the VM OS disk. We're now deploying the VM itself. We're now configuring the cloud messaging service. Just takes a few moments. We're now configuring the platform converter service. We're connecting to the Veeam Vault repository here, which is KRR Vault Restore. We're now publishing the disks from the backup as we looked at earlier. We're now preparing the helper appliance. We're converting the virtual machine backup for Microsoft Azure. And we're now, you can see that we have successfully restored the KRR DC01. So if we go take a look in my Azure portal, you can see without the refresh, we're not seeing the restored virtual machine and the helper. But once I hit refresh, you can see that suffixed machine and the helper running in my Azure portal. Very easy to perform the recovery, as you can see. But you can see at the top left, we have an instant recovery in progress. I can interact with this particular instance. I can right click on it. In a normal scenario, I would hit migrate to production and it would finalize the state of those disks in Azure. But for this as a test, I'm going to hit stop publishing. and I have to agree to stop publishing the session. And this is going to undo all the activities that we have performed in the instant recovery. So it's stopping the restore, it's going to be unpublishing the backups, it's going to be cleaning up the helper appliance in Azure, and you'll see that as we step through the log here. So it's already deleting the virtual machine that we restored. This just takes a little while for removing those objects. We're now deleting the VM disks. We're deleting the helper appliance resources. So we're not leaving anything running in Azure. The helper appliance has been deleted successfully. And the restore process has been stopped successfully. So, as far as Veeam concerned, we have now stopped that restore and undone everything we did there. So you can see before a refresh in my Azure portal, we can still see those machines. But if I hit refresh, you can see that those restored and the helper appliance machine are now gone, so not taking up any resources. So hopefully you found that video useful, and check out the rest of the content on the Veeam YouTube channel. Thank you.